Not to deter from this conversation, but obviously you're pulling a lot from the Book of Enoch and you're referencing it often. Why do you think the Book of Enoch wasn't incorporated into the canon?
Oh, that's a complicated. The answer to that question
I don't want to deter,
is
but
complicated.
I just want a brief like opinion.
Okay, so the short answer for why the Book of Enoch didn't make the canon is Augustine, rather. He had a very negative view of the Book of Enoch, in contrast to many of the other early church fathers, and especially Tertullian, who argued for its inclusion in the scriptures, in the canon. So the Book of Enoch was very widely distributed I believe that if you were to go back to the time of Christ and you were to go into the synagogues of the Jews located throughout Judea and also in some of the Greek cities, you would find a copy of the Book of Enoch. Not the one we have today. It would be different, but you would find a manuscript that was purporting to be either the record that was written from the oral tradition of Enoch or a direct copy of the manuscript that was penned by the hand of Enoch.
Right.
The reason why the primary reason is because it was rejected by certain figures within the Catholic Church. And the reason why their objection to the Book of Enoch held so much sway was because it was also rejected in the Jewish canon.
Right.
And the reason why it was rejected in the Jewish canon is very clear. And this Tertullian actually makes this argument. It was rejected because of the messianic prophecies that clearly pointed to Jesus of Nazareth.
Really?
That was the primary reason why the Jews rejected it. And that's apparent when you read the parables, for example. It's apparent. The early church was conversant with Enoch. The New Testament, some of the New Testament writers, such as Peter and Jude, reference it directly. Jude records it verbatim in the book of Jude. Peter makes a direct reference to the Book of Enoch in regard to an incident that's only found in the Book of Enoch.
Wow.
The details of an incident. And so it's apparent that the apostles in the early church were conversant with Enoch. Now, whether it should be in the canon or whatever, to me, that's irrelevant. The only question I'm interested in is are portions of the Book of Enoch historically accurate? And I believe they are. Now, the Book of Enoch as a whole is a very complex, convoluted document. It's not one singular author, and it's not all published at the same date. Clearly, the latter portions of First Enoch, which is the Ethiopic Enoch, have a Second Temple Merkaba mysticism influence, and in my opinion are therefore unreliable. But the first sections of Enoch, the Book of the Watchers and the Book of Parables, I think are authentic and either represent some sort of a recopying of an early manuscript or the record of an oral tradition that goes back to Enoch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't mean to deter. It's just you were bringing it up a lot. Being like a pretty normal vanilla Christian, I didn't have exposure to the Book of Enoch. So most people, when you bring it up, they're like, hey, that's not in the Bible. Why does this guy keep talking about it? So as long as you've got an opinion and reasons why you think it is a valid source, I'm interested, you know? If it was just like, just because it says so. Then I'm like, hold on a second. But there's a lot of people that don't believe in the Book of Enoch. So I want to hear.
Well, it doesn't matter what people do or don't believe in.
That's
the question
true.
is, did the ancient Hebrews believe in the Enochian tale? And the answer is unequivocally, yes, they did.
That's very true.
The lore that you have in the Book of Enoch, it was all ancient Hebrews were conversant with the story of Enoch. All ancient Hebrews. It was a part of their tradition.
Yeah.
And it underlies so much of their theology.
Very true, Tim.
The cosmology of the ancient Hebrews, to some extent, hinges on the Enochian tale. And you cannot remove Enoch. You cannot remove Enoch from the Old Testament. And we have, in regard to our understanding of our perspective of the Old Testament, that's why we have these mysterious, weird things that don't make any sense, such as the Genesis 6 affair. But when you allow the Enochian tale to inform our reading of the Old Testament, it makes perfect sense. You can understand why certain details are there, why certain things are not elaborated, and so forth. I'm getting ready to publish very soon. I'll be publishing my own version, not my own version. It's the R.H. Charles version of the Book of Enoch, but it's with my own introduction and commentary.
Cool.
And I'm doing this in conjunction with Luke Rogers and Nate Henry from Blurry Creatures. So we're doing a what do you call it? A collaboration on the Book of Enoch, and I'm really excited for that because I wrote a very detailed introduction to the Book of Enoch, and commentary that you probably won't read anywhere else. In fact, I've never read a commentary on the Book of Enoch, so it's the commentary that I wrote is coming from my own reading through the Book of Enoch, and my own perspective on it. But we also have, it's very unique because we also have, we're going to have some illustrations, some conceptual scenes rather, and text describing a particular perspective, a unique perspective on those scenes.
Very cool.
And people will understand what I mean when they get the book in their hands. That's not available yet, but it will be coming available soon.
Yeah.
It's something we've been working on, and we're getting ready to release in the coming month.
Okay. Yeah, let me know when that's available. Super curious about that, and I want to share it with our audience in case they're more interested in learning about this, because I definitely am. I think we often forget that Old Testament and New Testament wasn't written directly to me and to you in 2024. It was written to a certain group of people who had a certain worldview, existed in a particular culture, a time and place in history. And so if the words in the Bible fell on deaf ears because it was culturally irrelevant, it wouldn't have served a very good purpose. So if the early Jewish culture had the Book of Enoch and they understood it as maybe historic or of cultural relevance, then of course mentions of it or references to and allusions to the Book of Enoch should make themselves known in other letters. Like you said, Jude and Peter, they reference it because the original audience would have known exactly what they're talking about.
That's right. Even Jesus references the Book of Enoch directly. He doesn't say, this is written in the Book of Enoch, but he clearly references the narrative on several occasions. So it's you cannot strip the Enochian tale out of the Bible, both Old and New Testament. You can't. It's there. It's part of the cosmology of the ancient Hebrews, and it's foundational to the eschatology of the apostles of Christ in the New Testament. Foundational. Absolutely foundational. So it is what it is, and regardless of whether or not it's in a canon or not, that's irrelevant.
Right.
It's irrelevant. It is part of Hebrew cosmology. It's the foundation of much of Hebrew cosmology.
Right.
Whether people like that or not, it makes no difference.
Okay, fair.